Hello and welcome to another episode of the Character Podcast with Dr. Vic Carr. Vic is a head teacher, Army Reservist and champion of lifelong learning. By day, she leads a thriving school community, shaping young minds and supporting teachers. By night, and often weekends, she serves in the Army Reserve, bringing discipline, resilience and service into everything she does. On this podcast, Dr. Carr unpacks the lessons from education and the military, explores what true leadership looks like, and shares stories that inspire us to step up, stand strong, and make a difference. Let's get started. Right, Vic, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's things? How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, very well. Nice for you to invite me over.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We've worked together for several years through Commando Joe's. Obviously a huge inspiration in the sector. But for those people that don't follow you on LinkedIn or the other amazing work you do, are you okay to just give us a quick summary of Dr. Vic Carr?
Yep, I'm Vic. I am a head teacher in Ellesmere Port in the northwest of England. I work in a large primary school, a growing primary school, as you said, thriving. We've just opened a third resource provision for children with autism. We've just opened a baby room as well. So yeah, that's a huge part of what I do is obviously my teaching role. I'm a mum. I've got two children, 20 and 21. I am in the Army Reserve. I'm an officer in the intelligence corps, so I do an awful lot with them. And I do podcasts and public speaking and do some writing, published author. Yeah, and I think, as you say, my life is kind of dominated by service, be that to the Army or my school or my family, who are all very important to me.
Vic, I usually know quite cleanly where to start on podcasts because it's usually quite straightforward. It's quite a lot to unpick there. And I think in a minute we'll start from the beginning and kind of hopefully go on a journey. But obviously the podcast is surrounding character and service is huge to you. The military is extremely strong on character. And working with you in your school for recent years, you do some unbelievable work in serving the community in terms of developing character in young people. But what does that mean to you?
It's funny, just before we started the podcast, I was thinking about character. I'm about to do next week a talk for the Army Historical Society on character and how throughout the generations it's been a core component of how they recruit officers. But character once over used to mean somebody from a certain area of life. It used to mean somebody who was very wealthy or well connected, and somebody from the kind of gentry or upper echelons. And for me, it means none of those things. It means somebody who is reliable, trustworthy, who knows what to do in a crisis, and somebody who, when the chips are down, that you can turn to them and they will guide you on the way. And certainly, people of good character, of note, have been all of those things for me throughout my life. They're people who invest in others. And I think for me, when I'm looking at children, I want children to develop all of those characteristics. So to do that, we have to break that down into various small components. And I think, to be trustworthy and to be reliable, and to be somebody who people turn to in the case of crisis, you've got to have things like courage, moral courage, resilience. And those are the sorts of things that I think underpin character. It's quite difficult to define exactly what it is. It's more a kind of a nebulous thing, really, I think.
100%. And it's grown, Vic, isn't it, and developed in so many ways. It's you're inspired by people or experiences, planned circumstance that you try and achieve, and circumstance that blindside you on that, idle Tuesday you didn't expect. In terms of upbringing, you're generally inspired by parents and siblings. What was yours like, and who inspired you growing up?
I don't know if you've watched my TEDx talk, and I don't know if any of the listeners or the watchers will have done either, but this is no secret, but I grew up in a very challenging household in Liverpool. I'm the oldest of 4 children, and my father was a violent schizophrenic, and he was a very unpredictable, inconsistent man. He could be very full of fun for very tiny portions of time, but you didn't really ever want to enjoy that fun because you were always expecting it to turn, which it often did. He was so violent that he would sometimes leave my mum unconscious. And as a small child, I would walk to school myself, and I would have been 5 or 6 walking to school, and the teachers there obviously observed that there was some kind of safeguarding issues. It wasn't necessarily called safeguarding 50 years ago, but that's what it was. And it became very challenging, and in the end we had to flee our home. We fled many times to a women's refuge, and subsequently he both tried to kill himself and then successfully killed himself in our family home. So in terms of role modelling from a small child, not so much from my dad. My mum was very vulnerable. Sure. She was a young mum when she got married. She was 18 months later I came along, and then my siblings after that. So she never really had the educational background, the financial resilience that I have got and that I instill in other people who I mentor, including my own children. So she kind of felt at the time, I suppose, that she had to stay with him. Right. So again, my mum wasn't necessarily an overt role model to me, but through my life I was inspired by her, and I still am, because despite all the things that have happened to her, she still remains one of the most compassionate, kind and loving people I think I've ever come across. So I think if I have half of her compassion, I'm probably not doing too badly. And I think inadvertently she inspired me. So for example, I've always been a person who trains really hard physically. In my younger years, it was probably born from some quite negative influences, because I wanted to be able to defend myself. I saw that my mum was not able to, and she's probably a foot shorter than me. So I'm tall, I'm strong, I'm physically fit. But in my latter years now, I'm in my 50s, I feel like the negative underpinnings to that have become very positive, because I can probably outperform the majority of my peer group in physical activity, which again helps with my military career. But it also helps manage things like menopause or just general aging. So I think from negative beginnings have come some really positive things. And I think again, as a child, I used to think I wanted to be able to support myself financially, and that's what always drove me to do a career that meant I could look after myself, and I didn't have to rely upon a man. If I was in an unhealthy relationship, I had the wherewithal financially and otherwise to withdraw from that, which again you think, well, that's quite a negative viewpoint, but actually what it means now is in my 50s I'm able to support my elderly relatives, my lifestyle and that of my children and my wider family, because I have got that financial underpinning that's come from years and years of hard work. So I guess from a young child, it wasn't really anybody in my home, but my grandparents were quite good role models. Again, very loving, very family orientated, which I think is where I get we're a Liverpool family. We're very much that way. I grew up with my cousins, my second cousins, and we're all very close. So I'm a big family person, but the main people for me that influenced me were my teachers. And teachers throughout my life have been hugely important.
Was that your positive place, Vic?
School was a safe place for me. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So when I went to school at 5, it was probably the first time that I felt, because I understood school. I couldn't understand my dad. My dad was volatile and predictable, in the very nature of having schizophrenia. That was it. But he was a huge man as well, very, very big physical man. And he was just scary. In school.
You were conscious of that?
100%.
Preschool as well?
Yeah. I lived my life being afraid most of the time, which again, it made me hypervigilant as a child, which is an unhealthy character trait. But in my latter years, I'm extremely sensitive to mood changes, differences in body language. I can spot by the way somebody walks past my office door whether they're not quite right, and I will actively go and seek them out and say, oh, how's it going? And I would say 99% of the time I'm right, and they'll say, oh, this happened, that happened. And I have a way then to intervene and support them and listen to them and signpost or offer any kind of help I can.
And was that initially a defensive tool, maybe, to spot what your dad was, how your dad was responding?
Oh yeah, I had to try and read
let's go near him, let's not, let's speak to him, let's not.
I remember distinctly, walking to our house door, thinking what kind of mood, and you almost arrived at your home with trepidation, thinking, trying to read the room really quickly to try and very much go under the radar and just kind of be insignificant, really, so as not to annoy. but there was never any predictability to it.
Right.
Some days he'd be laughing, and then he'd switch, and you wouldn't know what had caused it, what had happened. So there was never any kind of, which is the exact opposite in my home.
Right.
So the home that I have created for my children, my family now, is the exact opposite to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very calm space. You know, even the dog is calm, and everyone comments on the school dog being so calm.
Yeah.
He's calm because he lives with me and we have a calm house. And
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So those negative beginnings, I think, you can use to influence how
Absolutely.
you are. And it's just been the same throughout my career, actually.
Right.
I've come across some very toxic people in the education world, and I've thought that is a prime example of how I am never going to be.
Right.
And by that influence, I am then the opposite. And I think if I'm not doing what they're doing, I'm probably pretty much nailed on.
Yeah.
And then there are fabulous people I've worked with, and I've thought I absolutely am going to take that with me. That's something I'm going to keep. So early influences maybe not so good. School 100%.
Yeah.
My wider family 100%.
Right. And your dad died when you were in primary school as well?
Yeah, he died when I was 8.
Right. Okay.
He hung himself in our house.
Right.
And then my mum, about 4 years later, sadly met another toxic individual.
Right.
So yeah, from 0 to 18, 19, it was pretty challenging times.
Just the trauma of someone passing away is quite extreme. But when there's so much mixed emotion, I suppose there's something habitual or primitive where you can't help but want to love your parents, or indeed actually love your parents, irrespective of what they do and how they behave. But then knowing that the behaviour is so bad and volatile, and then passing away when you're only 8, if you look back at that, and I take it it's something you dealt with.
I did. I mean, I'm quite a pragmatic, person. But there was a period in my 20s where I was aware that I did not think like other people.
Right.
I didn't manage my life like other people.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to have fun, or, everyone else seemed to be having fun, and it was something that I just couldn't quite understand. It was something that I couldn't quite link in with. And I thought there's clearly, at first, the simple way of putting it, I thought there was something wrong with me.
Right.
So I was very fortunate to have a really good tutor at university, and I was speaking to him about it. I did an outdoor education and environmental science degree. And he taught me about some books I could read, and I've been an avid reader throughout my life. Again, as a small child, it was a place to escape reality. You just dive into books and then you're lost. And it gives you the ability to sort of completely distance yourself from what was going on. And he could see that I was an avid reader. Everywhere I went, there was a book. So he gave me some kind of, I'd say, self-help books, but they weren't overtly self-help books. They were books that got me thinking about
more knowledge building.
And then I met the guy I worked for, and both of these chaps are in their 70s, 80s now, and they're both very good friends of mine, almost father figures that I didn't have. The guy I worked for, John, he used to say, right, come on, I'll take you out climbing. And we just talk, and just being out in nature massively helped me. I'm from Liverpool. I'm from inner city Liverpool. So me, rock climbing, sailing, canoeing, kayaking, those sorts of things were not the sorts of things I would do on a daily basis. But here I was doing them. And I realised that that's where I was happiest, just being outside, feeling small against a big world, and just talking and thinking things through. So both reading and being outside and having conversations with these people who had a completely different life story to me helped me to try and make sense of perhaps what had gone wrong in my life. And then having children was the next big milestone moment for me, because I thought I cannot give my children the hang-ups that I've developed over time. So then I thought I'd better get some perhaps help to talk this through. But what I realised was there actually wasn't anything wrong with me.
Right, okay.
My thinking had been influenced by certain things that had happened in my life. But framing it in a way that there's something wrong with you perhaps wasn't helpful. I just felt deficient. I felt like I hadn't been a good daughter. Maybe that's why my dad had killed himself. Maybe I've been better, cleverer, harder working, a boy, all those things I carry on adding to the list. Then perhaps he wouldn't have done it, when all of that was wrong thinking really on my part. I think once you reframe things that have happened in a different way, not even necessarily a positive way, just in maybe a more accurate way, then it's a bit easier to make sense of.
Absolutely. And primary education then, obviously it was a safe space to go to, and obviously later on in life you've become a head teacher, you've got a PhD, you're a speaker. Was it education that you were engaged with, or was it the environment of just being there?
I think both.
Yeah, they always had a wanting to thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, I think genetically, I don't know why, I had an inquisitive mind. I've always had a busy mind, and I don't know why that is. Research I've done might suggest to that being a trauma response. I don't know. It'd be difficult to unpick the two, but I've always been inquisitive. I like to know things. I like to understand how the world works, how people work. And I'm the kind of person who likes to do on-the-job learning, but also underpin it with something a bit more than that. Like, why are we doing this? So let's find out why. So who's researched and said this is the best way? Is there a better way? And I've done all my learning, my postgraduate work alongside working.
Right.
And I feel like that's really benefited me throughout my career, because I'm not just picking an idea off the shelf. I've actually done some background work on it to understand and whether it's appropriate for the people I'm working with, the group of children, the families. But I think being a head teacher is a huge privilege for me, because it means I get to shape the environment that children are in. By and large, I get to set the weather in my school. If I was a grumpy person, people would walk around on tiptoe. I'm not. People can come to me with all kinds of problems. People have made mistakes in my school, and quite big mistakes, and they've come to me and we've worked them through. I feel like I protect the staff, but I always am honest to people.
And did that pattern continue throughout all the key stages? So you end up going to GCSEs, college, etc. Did you always enjoy that journey?
I could literally list off the teachers who have had, I wouldn't just say an impact, I would say a significant impact. So there was a teacher when I was 5 who said to my mum, this girl's university material. I was the first person in my whole family to go to university. My mum didn't even really know what university was. And I guess that's because I was, prolific reader before I went to school. I had an aptitude for puzzles and problem solving. And that teacher, Miss Melling, she was amazing. And subsequently there was Miss Swerdlow, and again she was the one who, when I arrived at school, covered in my mum's blood because I couldn't wake her up. I remember her hugging me and saying, right, we're going to get some help. In secondary school I was lucky. We'd moved house, we'd moved area, because the kind of cycling that happens around a family when a parent kills themselves is quite unsettling.
Absolutely.
So my grandparents gave up both of but they had their own businesses, very successful. They sold up, we moved house to a different area, and it was an area where there was the 11+. And by sheer dint of the fact that I had just an inquisitive mind, I passed my 11+ and I went to grammar school, and I think that was it, me. I was then set for life on a pathway of success. And again, for females, I went to an all-girls grammar school on the Wirral, and the teachers there, from when you get there at 11, even now today, my daughter went there some years later, they talk to you about when you go to university and when you do this and when you do your engineering degree or when you become this and that. And they're giving you aspiration with almost every conversation they've got. So I didn't give much thought to education. I just gave thought to loving. I did sports all the time. Sports all the time. Netball teams, lacrosse teams, everything. Everything I did, I did it. But in the background was this education piece going on. And it was just underpinning. And they also had ideas like, why don't you go and do Duke of Edinburgh? So I got into that, why don't you go and do local community awards? So I went back to my primary school and did a community award. So by sheer luck on my part, but by complete design, I'm sure, on their part, they were already guiding us girls through this character development pathway where we weren't just kind of quiet, meek females, we were trailblazers.
Absolutely.
That said, we all had to wear a skirt the same length, and when I went to them at 18 and said I want to join the military, I want to be a helicopter pilot, they laughed. They were just like, nobody at this school joins the military, you're going to university. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't have somebody saying, yes, go and be the first girl, go and do this and that. Now I find myself saying, you do what fires you up. So my daughter is currently, or next week she starts an electrical qualification. She's already doing locksmithing. She wants to do a trade, and she went to a grammar school. She's a very bright girl, but she wants to do something practical and physical. And I am not going to stand in
That's so important though, isn't it, that people aren't shoehorned or pushed into what society thinks you should be. You've got to be true to yourself. That's quite bold though, right, for your daughter to make that decision and say, that's what I want to be, that's what I want to do, irrespective of what anyone else thinks.
She played rugby for the county, It was hilarious, really. I mean, you think about stereotyping people, but people often said to her, you wear makeup, you look pretty, you've got long hair, and you're playing number 8. And she'd be like, yeah, I love being physical, I love being sporty, that's what my family do. And she went to her school and said, you know, I'm in the county team. Now, if she was in the county team for netball, she'd have been lauded. If she was in the county team for lacrosse, lauded. The county team for rugby, that's a boys' game.
Right, okay.
Even in this modern world, it's a boys' game. So I feel like she might have kind of, some of my attitude might have maybe rubbed off negatively on her. There were sometimes I was saying, please just come forward, but she wouldn't. And I can't say I blame her. Why, you know, why should she? But it is bold, and I think good for her. You
Absolutely,
know,
if she's doing it for the right reason, not doing it to rebel, she's doing it through like the love of wanting to do it and achieve. And there's something brilliant about that. I watched the ladies rugby 2 nights ago. It's amazing. Amazing it was.
Good.
So so post school, did you always want to be a teacher?
No.
I know you mentioned then about joining the military.
Yeah,
where did
I
that link
wanted to
come
be
in?
a helicopter pilot. I was in the Air Cadets again. This idea of being involved in something wider than just education, which was developing my character the whole time, building on things that I found passion in. So I was in the Air Cadets for 5 years. I loved the whole idea of the military. I loved the RAF. It's a bone of contention now. But I wanted to fly helicopters, and it didn't happen because I didn't have the courage. I just didn't have the courage to go for it. I didn't have that inner beast that I have since developed to say, just go for it. I thought I'll stay safe, play safe, and go to university, which is what everybody wanted. And then I wanted to do outdoor education, environmental science. I got a taste for it doing Duke of Edinburgh. And that's what I wanted to do. And the course I wanted was in the Lake District in Ambleside, which happened to be a teacher training college. So before you knew it, I was becoming a teacher. And then maybe I think maybe I was just always destined for teaching, because I found such solace and such, safety in my school life throughout secondary school. One of my teachers, Mr. Robinson, I was able to say to his wife, some years later as an adult, that he'd basically saved my life. My stepfather starved me for 6 weeks. I was playing so much sport that I rapidly lost weight, shredded weight. And very quietly, he was probably, now I think back on the spectrum, he's a maths teacher, and I was a 5th year, which is now year 11 or something. And he would just very quietly slide half of his sandwich across the desk to me at lunchtime. And I would just eat it quietly, and never was a word spoken.
Really?
I don't suppose it would happen like that now.
Yeah.
I think people would be all over it because they would see that something was wrong. I was clearly a very unhappy teenager. But and
what was the reason why that was happening at home?
Control and I don't know what the parenting ideals were behind that. But my stepfather was just, again, sometimes could be kind. Usually when he'd been drinking, he was very full of joy. And then when he hadn't been, he could be very tricky. And he made our lives very tricky.
So you got dealt two challenging hands there with two influential males in your life. Did that continue on in terms of your development of relationships with adults?
100%.
Later down the line.
100%. I had a lot of unhealthy relationships. I was a broken person for a long time. And as I say, when I had my own children, I realised that I needed to do something quite significant to change my thoughts on myself in order to be a healthier person for them, which mattered to me more than anything else. Being a mum is the single most important job of my entire life, and it's the biggest privilege and the biggest honour. And I didn't want to mess that up. I thought, there's always recovery in, a teaching job or something, but you can't really recover if you mess up as a parent.
Sure thing.
So I wanted to do a good job for that.
Brilliant. So before we step into your teaching bit, just to kind of recap on your school, you mentioned 2 or 3 people, and they've all got a similar character trait, like very compassionate and kind. The year 5 teacher you were speaking about before, the teacher that followed on, the chap who just slid a sandwich across. It's someone who provided like love and care and support for you. Is that I suppose it's a very warming character trait for someone to have anyway. But did you really warm to those type of people? Someone that wanted to care for you and put an arm around you? You didn't kind of rebel against that love?
I didn't really warm to anyone. I suppose if you could liken me to an animal as a child, it would be a cat.
Right.
I didn't trust people.
Yeah.
I was very skittish around people. Inevitably, I was afraid physically.
Yeah.
Any fast movements, loud voices, loud noises. It still happens to me now.
Right.
And, you know, my kids will laugh now, but they know what it is. And my daughter says, Mum, it's kind of like PTSD. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But, yeah, I'm not good with loud noises. So I didn't really warm to anyone.
Yeah.
I think they saw in me someone that needed it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think I probably just avoided it, which is why I now, when I see children who I know are going through traumatic circumstances, even when they're very prickly and they push people away and they're quite challenging to be around, they're the ones that need us to love them the most, because that was me.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Sad, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's so inspiring, Vic, that how you've gone from having that such a challenging upbringing, because what I've seen, I've never understood that. I've only seen the latter end of the last decade of working with you and seeing you on LinkedIn, and it's very honest. You are on the socials, very honest and very transparent, but it's very inspiring. Like the things that you do are, it's really hard to break down. You're from being a head teacher, a speaker in the military, an army officer, all that stuff. But it's interesting to really understand like how you got there and what that journey was like. And then, so that step into teaching then, what did that teach you about you in terms of being a teacher? How did that test your character, or did you find out much about yourself?
I feel like I could say that I found out more about myself when I went into being a head teacher, but there were certainly points in my teaching career that I learned how resilient I was. Right. And I think the one thing I took with me from my younger years, even though I had no idea that this was happening, was that I became an incredibly resilient person. Right. But if you'd have asked me what I was learning through those years, I would have just thought, I'm literally in hell. I'm so miserable. Right. I counted the days to leave home when I was 18 and go to university. I literally counted the days to get away and escape. I thought I'd never go back. And I was, you know, it was 18 years later when I went back, and I had my own children. And I was very much in control of my own life when that happened. But I think resilience was the thing that I took with me into my teaching career. And I was full on, you know, I wanted to do outdoor stuff. I thought, I love this stuff, let's get onto it. So straight away, as what would now be called a newly qualified teacher, I was organising residentials because I saw the value in them, and we were doing 5-6 residentials a year. I did sports clubs, you know, I was full on as a teacher, just threw myself into it, which I guess is another trait of mine. If I'm somewhere, then I'm 100% in. Right. I'm either 100% in or not in at all. And I never guess that, to be honest. I never make promises I can't keep because I don't like being let down. Again, I think like a hangover from childhood, being let down just feels so pants. So I'll only ever commit if I can absolutely commit. And I think that was the same of my teaching career. So I was always known as being someone who was passionate about the job and, you know, fun, and I made everything come to life. And the reason I'm a head teacher isn't because I was good with bookkeeping or accounting. It's because I was a great teacher. And that's the madness of it. You're fabulous at teaching, so you end up in an office doing paperwork. But what I find the best thing about being a head teacher is that I can make set the conditions for all of those teachers. And there's over 20 in my school. To do what I did when I was a teacher. And I think that's actually pretty cool. And did you say getting into headship or senior leadership was by design, or was that just through natural process? Were you just good at teaching, so they wanted you to take the next role and the next role and the next role, or was it something early on that you spotted and thought, I'm going to head there? Well, I never thought I want to be a head teacher. When I now do performance management and coach people every year, every half year, I'm talking about what's the next step for you. Let's think about your rounded career. No one ever did that for me. It was by pure fluke. But I love mentoring and I love coaching people. So for me, I get in there early. I say, you know, you're fabulous at this. Have you thought about that? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. And just kind of help people along the way. But for me, I came back from Germany where I'd been living, and I'd been a phase leader, I'd been an English lead, I'd helped a lot of people, I had a big team, and I thought, I wonder if the time's right. And do you know what I did? I just sent out some applications. And I thought, what lands? What can I lose by sending out an application? and I got the first interview, for the first job I applied for, I got an interview and I got the job.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
So the first steps into senior leadership, was that
Pure fluke.
Was that not in the school you're at now?
No.
Okay.
God, no. It was 2 schools ago. So it was in a church school. Again, I'd never worked in a church school.
Right.
I don't necessarily have a faith.
Right.
I'm not a practicing, I don't have a practicing religion.
Mm.
I would say I'm more of a spiritual person. So again, alongside being the deputy head, I also did a qualification in Christian leadership because it was a church school, because I thought I need to understand a bit more about this Christian ethos.
Yeah.
And what I found was it was very much like my own ethos, but it was just called Christian.
Mm.
So I thought, I can easily do this.
Yeah.
Because at the minute you take out the Bible and Jesus, being a good person, having compassion, and well, that's me. So I thought it was absolutely easy to do that, and I loved it. I thrived there. I was a deputy head, and I was also the Senko. Right. Which again was an eye opener. So I did the Senko course. It was a very, very affluent school. Rafa Benitez's children came to our school. It was a state school, but it was in a very wealthy area, which was completely different to what I'd been accustomed to. And then literally the chalk and cheese to the school I went to be a headship at. Right. So. And
where does the PhD fit in with all this?
Timeline? So alongside all of that, no. So alongside all of that, I was doing a master's degree. Okay. The first one in leadership. Again, just to round my understanding of leadership. And then I got my headship, and because of the work I'd done on the master's program, they said you should really go straight on to do a doctorate. And I said I need a year in this school just to understand what being a head is, and thank God I did, because I also got divorced that year, unexpectedly. Oh God. Talk about resilience. Yeah. So I then did my doctorate the following year. So that I spent 3 years doing that, and I wrote the paper for that, the thesis. Again, a year early, because I'd had a double mastectomy and I was off work. It's the first time I'd ever been off work. Yeah. And I was off for 4 months and I was going stir crazy. Absolutely. So I thought, what should I do? I know I'll write my thesis. Right. So I wrote my thesis while I was off. And then I started another master's. Right. And I did that. And then I moved to this school. Right.
But that's immersive though, right? Through a PhD. That's a big, big task. Is that, again, something that you always wanted to do?
No.
Right.
It's literally like people will say, you should do that.
And you just don't say no.
I think, actually, why not?
Right.
My take on things most times is, why not?
Yeah,
what have I got to lose by doing
Absolutely.
this? Same with the army. So I'd finished my doctorate, I was in my new school, I'd finished my MA, someone says, at a dinner, do you know what? You're up every day at 5, you're doing phys every day, you've got this doctorate, you're a really bright person, you'd be great in the Army Reserve. And I say, I'm 45, don't be ridiculous. How can you join the Army at 45? And they were like, they take reserves till 52. All you need to do is pass the phys. So I thought, why not? Why not?
And it's that seed planted there. You've not thought throughout your working life?
Never.
Right, yeah.
So I thought...
Did you see it as a challenge for you? Did you see that as like a, can I do this?
No, but
as opposed to I want to do it.
Periods through it, I thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I thought, the minute I fail something, that will be the time to say that was a nice little journey, and I've met some amazing people. But now's the time to draw the line. Right. And it hasn't happened yet.
You're still going with that. Yeah.
just picked up to captain. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But it's so much to juggle. If we just focus on that bit for a sec, Vic, there's a lot to juggle there, isn't there? There's a lot of moving parts, managing staff, being a head teacher, being in the military, and also having a life, I suppose, outside that, being a mum, etc. How do you balance that?
You're just a team, aren't you? You're a team. I'm a team leader in all 3 teams in my life. Right. I am the team leader. Yeah. I am at home. In my whole family, I am the person people go to. Yeah. I always have been, even from when I was a child. So I'm the team leader at my family, I'm the team leader at my school, I'm the team leader in my army life.
But doesn't that say that it's like each one is very time consuming? There's a lot of responsibility there.
It's responsibility, but it's also about a team. So you asked me, what does being a team leader look like? Firstly, it's all of the people in your team knowing their responsibilities and what they need to do to be successful. Yeah. And then you guiding them and coaching them. You can't be all things to all people all the time. No one can. So my teams work because I've coached the team members to becoming really positive team members. Right. that's why I'm so keen on a team.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I had my hysterectomy at the start of this year, I was off work for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my school would work
Right.
tickety-boo.
Okay.
My team just work.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they all know what's expected and
Yeah.
everyone just does.
That's a hard thing to get, isn't it, for some? Certainly for maybe new leaders who are new head teachers or deputies watching this. To get that must be quite hard because well, it must be very hard because there's a lot. You want to a certain degree, keep control of everything that's going on to make sure. And it's a big move.
Yeah. So now you're talking about delegation and releasing kind of power, and I think that is probably
and trust. I suppose that comes alongside that.
Huge.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I think it was Ronald Reagan during Perestroika said, "Trust but check." So he trusted that the Russians would start to dismantle their nuclear armaments, but he still checked.
Yeah.
And I think that's a phrase, trust but check, that stuck with me throughout my leadership journey.
Yeah.
So I do trust every single person, but nevertheless, periodically I'll check.
Absolutely.
And that way I know that what I think is happening is actually happening.
Yeah.
But it does come from, I think in our world right now, and I don't know whether you'd agree, everything's Twitter size, everything's bite size, everything's Instagram size, quick. Leadership isn't quick.
Yeah.
Proper leadership takes time.
Sure.
Team building takes time. You can't go in and do a team building exercise on day one and everyone's gelled together and we're all on it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think my leadership has been tested most when things have gone wrong.
Right.
So then people look to me.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Sure thing. Yeah.
And that's when they go, right now we see, and that's when the trust comes. They trust me then to do what I've promised them I'll do.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I reassert my leadership expectations because I'm modelling that.
Sure.
So it's no blame culture.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest about our mistakes. Let's understand them so that they don't happen again. We're all going to make them more human.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how can we make our team better?
Yeah.
There's honest conversations, because if you want a high-performing team, you can't hide behind ego or 100%. Control. You just can't do it.
No. And unfortunately, I think a lot of businesses and schools maybe struggle with that step, that there is ego in the way. There is the mistake that's happened and there's the blame pointing from the leader. The schools get enough support with leadership development?
No.
Right.
They perhaps used to, and throughout, well, I've only been a teacher, this is my 29th year.
Yeah. Only 29. That's what you said at the start, mate.
Yeah. I was thinking, is it 30? I think it's like 29. Yeah. I would say in the early days of my teaching career, there was a lot more support. It's so divisive now. You know, are you an academy or are you state maintained? Which academy trust are you in? We're not sharing. I'll share anything with anyone. Yeah, yeah. Literally, even if it's taken me days and weeks. I've just shared today our grant, 2 grant forms that took me 3 days a piece to fill in. Right. All fully funded grant forms from 2 different organisations, which we were successful with because someone said, that was really good, you did that, you're brilliant at that, could I possibly? And I said, yeah, have them. So is there not enough of that in the sector? Is that one thing? No, I think a lot of it is about, well, that's my hard work, that's my time. I think it was time I spent, it worked for us, great, have it. I'm literally not interested. I you know, that's just my mentality, but it's not. Well, that's character though as well, isn't it? It's not just mentality. That's, perhaps. Somebody's character there, isn't it? Of being. And also, I think I'm in a big school. Yeah. I wasn't always. My previous school, I was head. It was a single form entry. I did all the safeguarding, all the curriculum leadership stuff. Apart from maths and English, I did a lot of SEND. Yeah. I don't have to worry about. I lead teams of people who do that now. Yeah. So I'm involved in every single team. Sure. But I am not the person who does every single thing for those teams. Yeah. I read the information that they produce. I trust them, and it's always good quality because I quality control it. But I have the capacity to write that bid and for that bid to be good. Right. Someone else might not have it. Yeah. So isn't it nice to just be nice? Absolutely. Absolutely. So then the switch then, Vic, to the military. So you say you were 45 when you had got this random conversation with a chap. Said that it's possible to do it until you're 52. And I thought, and was there no military link at the time? Was there anybody in your family that had done it? But it must have been maybe an interest somewhere in your head, going back to when you were 18, of thinking about being in the military there. So there must have been always something there lingering, or certainly maybe a habitual interest in. Funnily enough, I've probably got more reason not to be interested in the military. So when I met my ex-husband, he worked in the Forestry Commission. We got married, and then he decided he would join the army just before he was 26.
Okay.
We lived in Germany. Both my children were born there. He spent most of his time away on tour. It was a very spicy time in the world.
Yeah.
It was Iraq, Afghanistan. He must have done about 8-9 tours.
Yeah.
So if anything, I should have been put off.
Right.
Because I was always anti it when I was a wife of. I didn't really enjoy being a wife of.
Right.
I was a wife of a soldier, not an officer. And I felt the discrimination very keenly because I didn't fit into any neat pigeonhole.
Yeah.
He was much older than his peer group.
Okay.
To join at 26.
Yeah.
He was sort of nearly 10 years older than most of his peers. I taught in the school.
Right.
Most of my peers were married to officers.
Okay.
So I couldn't socialise with them because they didn't want to socialise with me.
Yeah.
And I just found I didn't fit with these kiddies who were like...
Sure thing.
So I was just in the middle. And that's what got me onto education. I just did my usual.
Right.
I'm in Germany. I've got 2 babies, literally babies. What am I going to do on an evening? I'm not going to sit on the doorstep and drink beer.
Yeah.
So I'll just do some study, which is what I did.
Is that still in play? Obviously, I was in the military, but I wasn't married in the military. So the officer, soldier, wife thing is a thing. You can't associate with them.
That was my experience. I don't know if it was anyone else's, but absolutely mine.
Right.
So I was in school one day, and a good friend of mine at the time in school said, "Oh, you know, having people over, come over for barbecue, bring your husband." What's your husband called again? Told her. What rank is he again? I said, "Oh, you know, corporal."
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm so sorry. Your husband's a major. You can't really, you can't mix there."
Okay.
And I was just like, "You've just invited me to barbecue, and now you are uninviting me because my husband, not because of me.
Yeah.
You and I are friends.
Right.
Our husbands don't matter, surely." But it did matter.
Very odd.
It was very odd. The whole thing was odd.
Well,
I
we
didn't
have to find that
enjoy it.
person now. You've got your pips, mate. Now one of you.
I didn't enjoy that whole thing. So I thought that's odd because I am a person in my own right.
Yeah.
I've got my own career. I've got my own qualifications. Exactly. But you seem to have taken on the mantle of somebody that you're married to, which is really odd. And actually, since I've been an officer in the reserves, I've not come across that kind of hierarchy. But I'm in the intelligence corps, which is a very mixed batch of people anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a kind of. It doesn't have the historical overtones that some regiments and units have.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
And what was joining like? Was it
hilarious?
Was it good? Was it a good start?
It was hilarious. So I was always the oldest in everything I did, which is fine. I did my basic recruitment with kids 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Okay. They're all girls. And it was in Lichfield. And I remember coaching a couple of girls the night before through the academic tests.
Right.
Talking to some of them about their family backgrounds, because some of them had come from some very challenging backgrounds. Right. So that was nice. I had an opportunity to do a little bit of what I love, which is bringing on younger people. Yeah. I passed that. I was shocked. I thought, okay, great. Yeah. Then I was in my unit because you have to do basic training then. So you passed the selection. I'd already been accepted by the intelligence corps. I'd passed their specialist selection. So the rest of it was kind of I just had to get through.
Yeah.
So basic training, hilarious again. I was used to camping, used to being in the outdoors. Yeah. So some of these young kids who were coming in didn't know how to put up a basher or make a cup of tea.
I was one of them, I think.
I literally make a cup of tea whilst doing something else. Yeah, that's just mum life.
Yeah.
Like true. Multitasking is mum life. You put the water on for that, you do that, you put the water on, you feed the dog, you check the game. So to me, it was just being in the field rather than being in a house. Right. Easy business. Yeah. Again, coaching people, guiding people. Some people really fretted about being away from home. They were 17 and wanted to be in the army. I did my basic training with regular people, but they didn't know how to be away from home. So there was a lot of mothering. I've done a lot of mothering and caring and coaching. And then I was in my unit. I did then my officer training. Again, hilarious.
At Sandhurst, is that?
Yeah.
That's still, even for the reserves, that's still quite amount of time that you have to
over years, over a couple of years. Yeah. And all of that on the back of a female captain at the very start telling me that the ETS, the Education Training Service, wouldn't take somebody like me because I was old. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't pass the physical test.
Right. Is that a red rag to a bull then?
I was female. And they tended to take male secondary school heads, not female primary school heads. And I thought, and the TEDx talk that I'd done wasn't a proper TED talk because it hadn't been done in America. It was a TEDx.
Okay.
So at that time I thought, oh, flipping out, the standards must be really high. Fine. And I rang the recruiter and said, listen, it's a no. And he was scandalised. I think I was just shocked because I thought, wow, okay, the bar must be really high. It's fine, I'm just not good enough. Which I suppose is something I've always thought anyway, so it didn't really detract from my... I have to work really hard on not thinking that. So I thought, oh, it's fine, I'm not good enough. I told the recruiter and he was like, no, don't go north to the ETS unit. Go east to Manchester to the intelligence corps.
Right.
And I never looked back.
Right.
And funnily enough, I was at Sandhurst and they were going, you should join the ETS. And I'm
Were
like,
they?
no. It was like a proper Julia Roberts moment. And I've said it a million times since. Everyone's like, yeah, why aren't you in the ETS?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. But actually, I definitely found my home in the Corps. It's a brilliant group of people. And quirky like me.
Did you find it fun going through the training? Because you obviously went in mature, probably knew a lot about yourself, whereas a lot of people when they join, certainly full-time, 16, 17, they don't even know who they are. They don't know how to make a cup of tea, like you were saying before.
I think, again, resilience. Some people are folding, and I just thought, it's just water. We're just getting wet. It's just cold. We'll be fine. We'll sleep. Even if we don't sleep, it's 1 day, it's 2 days. I think I'd been a mum. I'd spent sleepless nights. I'd lived through much worse and lived to tell the tale. And I thought... But they hadn't yet had those experiences.
To draw on,
And I think if they'd come from lovely, loving, warm homes, they didn't really... Hardship was an anathema to them. They couldn't get their heads around. And when you're on exercise, it is an exercise. It is... There is an index. There is an end point. You know, it's not real. It's realistic, but it's not real life. And I think they massively struggled with some of that. But hopefully for them... They went through that journey and came out feeling much better about themselves and more resilient than they were before. But, you know, when I was at Sandhurst, I had some of the most profound conversations I've had with young people on some of those exercises. You know, at night on stag, you're not supposed to talk, but we did keep ourselves awake. And it was conversations, you know, one guy told me about arriving at his sister's house and his sister's boyfriend passed out in front of him and he'd actually had a heart attack. Only a young guy. And he was so traumatized by performing CPR on him. He'd survived, but he said, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of months, and he hadn't spoken to anyone about it, but he spoke to me, and I feel like what a privilege that people will share with you. My room was like the common room. Of course, I had a kettle and tea because I'm old and I like my comforts. Loads of people were sending me care packages. So there was always something, you know, they were saying, oh, you're like Jeff Bezos, you know, you've always got goodies arriving. But, you know, when they were away from home, when they needed company, companionship, conversation, coaching, whatever, everything, how to sew something, to how to iron something, to I'm having problems with my girlfriend, they came to me and I enjoyed it. And funnily enough, I thought, thank God I've passed, you know, at the end. And when we have our exit interview, the chap said, where do you think you've placed? It's a big deal in the army, you know, where you place, top third, middle third, bottom third, you probably remember. And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe top of the bottom bottom third, I'd be happy. I'm made up, I've scraped through, to be honest. Like, I haven't injured myself, I've survived. And he was like, no. And I thought, oh God, even worse. And then a couple of weeks later, I got my course report, and of 40 odd, I'd come third, and I couldn't believe it. Because before me was an army commando who was 30. Second to him was a triathlete, an Ironman triathlete from my unit, who's a gorgeous person. And then me, and I thought, flipping heck, how the heck did I manage that? Because I thought before I went, it was all about physical fitness. And that girl had planted a seed in me that I wasn't going to be good enough because I was too old.
Or reaffirm that seed.
I was too old, I wasn't able to do it. And no, I mean, they use words like formidable and, you know, things like that. And everything that I valued, they'd noticed, which I hadn't noticed them noticing. Because we were like, we thought we were all being a bit, you know, like everyone padding to Vic's room for a cuppa, door shut, we were all giggling, laughing away, having cups of tea. And I thought, flipping heck, if anyone catches us and we're not shining shoes or doing something useful. But actually all of that was noticed and noted. And those things that I valued about supporting people to get through, and one of the comments was there were lots of people on that course who wouldn't have succeeded had I not, you know, coached them through it. I thought that was probably, rather than coming third, which was just a placement and someone's judgment, I thought what they've noticed is that I care for the people, and that is something that I value. So so it was interesting. So have I enjoyed it? Yeah, I have. Has it been easy? I would say I always worry if I'm going to be good enough and pass, but I think that's a problem.
That will never
with
go,
me.
right?
That's a problem with me, not anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the commitment? Are you there often, or? You've got to do a camp each year, is that right?
Every Wednesday night.
Okay.
But of course there are Wednesday nights I can't make it. Minimum 2-week camp. Okay. Which is the annual continuous concentration or something, ACT, annual continuous training, and you're meant to refresh all your military skills and do all your annual training. Yeah. But then I can do as much or as little as I like. Okay. I'm asked to do a lot of stuff in terms of leadership. So I'm a senior research fellow for the Army, for the Centre for Army Leadership, which is quite a prestigious position. Absolutely, that's because I've done research for them. I did a big piece of research about recruitment, which was used by
Is there something intimidating, Vic, about that? I've seen a picture of you on LinkedIn only a week or two ago. I don't know if it was your post or someone else's.
Oh, okay.
And you were presenting something.
Oh, yeah.
And the image was you presenting, but all I could see was a sea of, I suppose, young to middle-aged men in military uniforms, and just you as a female at the front. How does that feel? Is there something exciting and then thriller, engaging
terrifying.
About it? Is it really? Yeah. Right, okay.
That has not got any easier. But the interesting thing that I notice that so much of what just comes naturally to me, that interests me, that I do research about or that I write about or grapple with, that I chat to people with, other people are interested in as well, and they want your view. So what's been, I suppose, strange for me in the last couple of years is that people actually want to hear what you've got to say. Absolutely. So you think, okay. Yeah. And that started for me with the TEDx talk. I was asked to do that for 7 years, but I didn't have the courage. Right.
What, thinking, who wants to hear this? Who wants to hear this? What have I got to say?
Because anybody, I mean, I had close friends of mine who I had not told that story to about my dad and about my upbringing. And one guy who I went to college with who I was very, very close friends with, and still am, he's a teacher as well. He literally texted me, he said, I had no idea, you were there at college. Yeah. We were out walking, everything. You never said a word about that. And I didn't talk about it. I was just a quiet person, just going under the radar. And so I was asked for years to do it. Yeah. And I suppose I thought people might think, who is this broken soul? Well, she shouldn't be allowed near children. She's obviously messed up in the head. Or, I don't know, I just felt like people would judge me.
Usually in a chimp, just driving you insane.
As I say, it's wrong thinking. It's faulty thinking that I've carried with me. Anyway, when I finally plucked up the courage to do it, I'm still mortified. I don't watch that TEDx talk. I tried to watch it once with my daughter, and she said, Mum, what on earth's wrong with your voice? Right. Because I was so emotional to try and get the words out that my whole voice was quivering. Yeah. I got into it, but at the start it wasn't it wasn't a strong start. Let's put it that way.
For those viewers and listeners that haven't seen it, where can they catch it, by the way?
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. I've watched it before. Is it on your?
It's just on Dr. Victoria. It's on TED. It's on the TED site. Dr. Victoria Carr, Power of Language. Yeah, yeah. But and yet, the crazy thing is, I suppose, the feedback was the exact opposite to what I thought. Right. People reached out and said, "Thank you for sharing that," and it mirrors my life. It gives me such hope that something good can come from it. My daughter's going through this. It gives me hope. And I thought, oh my God! And then from there, of course, things just kind of grow legs, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was it. Yeah, and I've improved over time. Yeah. But I wouldn't say public speaking is my forte. But
you just do a lot of it.
Yeah, I know, because people seem to still.
Lots of punishment.
I probably say the same thing in a different way over again, which is just about integrity, honesty, authenticity, compassion.
So, being I suppose a senior leader in two different sectors, the military or defence, and also education. Mm-hmm. Is there something that either one can learn from the other? Is there much that the education space could take from leadership principles in the military and vice versa?
I think there is a lot of overlap.
Right.
I do, particularly in the officer space. I mean, in my day job, for example, this morning I was doing performance management reviews with staff. reviewing the last year performance, planning ahead for their targets, what impact can they have, on the children now, on the school, etc. And it's the same in the military.
Yeah.
A lot of my time spent doing SJARs, those annual reports for different layers of soldier. What have you added? What can you do?
Yeah.
What does promotion look like? So there's a lot of overlap for that.
Right.
I think the reporting structure itself stops people being more innovative in the army. You can't say you're brilliant at that, let's guide you on.
Yeah.
It's quite a pathway, but
Sure.
that's because it's such a big organisation.
Yeah.
I think the army's coming more around to things like mentoring and coaching. I do.
Is it really?
Yeah, when I was in Sandhurst, it was less about being barked at by colour sergeants and
Right.
more about, okay, you decided to pop smoke and go right up the middle. What could
Yeah.
you have done there?
Right, okay.
Instead of like...
Yeah, is that what it's like? Yeah, it's a lot more
yeah,
conversational,
yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
reflective.
So they'll let you make a hash of it.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, right, now let's have a think of what you could have done.
Right, okay.
I would say that was probably 75% of the
Right.
time. You get barked at, of course, for
Yeah,
this or
yeah.
that, but a lot of the teaching element is done in a more coaching style.
Right.
So I think they're coming around to that.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
part now of the Intelligence Corps mentoring scheme,
Oh, nice.
so I'm one of their leadership people for that, and that's across the whole Intelligence Corps,
Yeah.
regulars and reserves. So again, I think they're embracing mentoring a lot more.
Yeah.
But I think what I try and bring into and articulate better in my day job is this idea of, in the army, everyone in a section knows that, everyone in a platoon knows their job.
Yeah.
If you're the platoon sergeant, you know exactly your job.
Sure
and you
thing.
do not get involved in like the platoon commander's job.
Yeah,
He does his
yeah.
job and you do your job,
Yeah.
and then you work together and everything works.
Yeah.
And all the section commanders do their job, all the 2ICs do their job, and
Yeah.
everyone knows who they report to,
Sure.
what their job is, and everything runs smoothly. And that's what I've instilled in my day job.
In your school.
And I did that anyway,
Yeah.
but I now understand how the two things map across. And I
Okay.
think, I wonder if that's why I've been successful.
Yeah.
Because the
yeah.
military is successful in that, and I see that happening. And I've always done this, but now I see how
Yeah.
it maps across.
It like reaffirms or solidifies
yes,
that
yeah. And I
what
don't-
was doing was right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the methodological name
Yeah.
for it all would be, but I certainly think everybody knowing their role, doing their
Yeah.
role well, being held accountable for their
Yeah.
role,
Yeah.
but also knowing what the other people's roles are, just in case something
Sure
happens
thing.
to those other people. So
Yeah.
we don't have in our school a single point of failure anymore. We did have when I took over,
Right.
but I said, well, if I'm off sick, what then?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if I break my leg on the way in,
Yeah.
if the bursar breaks a leg, who knows
Yeah,
who knows
yeah.
how to manage the finance systems?
Sure.
So we've now got at least one other person trained in everyone else's role,
Right. Okay.
which again broadens their skill set,
Yeah.
makes them more employable if they did move house for
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reason, and so on and so on. So, yeah.
It's like democratic autonomy there, Vic, isn't it? I'd be interested to, really
The Army
understand
call
what.
it mission command, don't they?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tell you what I want you to achieve, but I'm not going to tell you how I want you to achieve
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Which again is the idea we said earlier about control. I'm not a control freak.
Yeah.
I do not clock people in or out.
Yeah.
If they want to work at home on a project, then they can, fine.
Yeah.
That's less easy if you're a class teacher. But equally, if I've asked them to do something specific, then their class will be covered while they go and do that one job.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
mission
Yeah.
command.
Exactly. And what's next, Vic, in terms of the military? Have you got many plans, a career path that you want to head down with it?
Well, I don't know, I'm 51 this year, so I suppose I haven't got forever. And I've always said that when I can't pass the fizz, that's the time to hang up the old
Right.
boots. But
10 years after that, Vic, haven't you?
maybe.
You'll be fine.
So currently writing a book.
Oh, okay.
My third one. So I've written two books
yeah.
about leadership and running a school. And this is a military history book about
Okay.
recruiting in officers through from the start of the army in the 1600s to 2027.
Oh, okay.
Hellion, who are military publishers, are
Yeah.
going to publish it. The first
Brilliant.
volume will be out shortly,
Yeah.
and then the second one will be out in 2027 to mark the anniversary of Sandhurst.
Oh, okay.
So CGS has just written the foreword to
Yeah.
the first one,
Right.
Chief of the General Staff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the Commandant of Sandhurst will write the foreword to the second
Right.
volume. So yes.
And where's that come from? Is it something you're just generally interested in?
So a couple of years ago, I did some research for an
Yeah.
MA I was doing in military history, and the Army snapped it up, and it informed part
Okay.
of something called the Haythornthwaite Review.
Right.
And then my friend Simon and I, who's a recently retired Lieutenant Colonel, he was at something called AOSB in Westbury,
Right.
where they select officers. And he said, should we do this together? I'm a historian, I've just retired. Do
Yeah.
you want to expand on your research and take it back? And I said, yeah, cool.
Right.
And we've had the best fun ever doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's probably had more fun than me. He's in the archives all over the
Is
place.
he? Yeah.
So when I'm in work,
Yeah.
grafting,
Yeah.
he's
Drop me
enjoying
an
his
email
best
across,
life.
isn't it?
Yeah. And then we just write it between us,
Yeah.
each chapter. So yeah.
So it was officer selection recruitment, effectively.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But so
That must be so varied in terms of how it's now.
Oh yeah.
I suppose through from a class perspective.
Yeah.
I take it there were certain people that couldn't join at all as an officer at some point.
Absolutely. And you had to purchase your commission back in the day.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were rich, you could buy one, and if you weren't,
Ah,
you couldn't.
okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
it is a cool book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's lots of like little anecdotes throughout it that
Yeah.
just make us chuckle. So my work for the project I did for the masters, that will form the main body of the second volume.
Yeah.
So this is all historical research for the first,
Right.
because it's pre-First World War.
Yeah.
But what's been really cool is a second order effect from this is that we've generated testimony from people who are still alive.
Oh, okay.
And the oldest person I've interviewed is in their 90s
Right.
and went through War Office Selection Board.
Yeah.
And so, because modern world, we don't keep diaries, we don't really keep written
Yeah. Yeah.
records of what happened,
Sure.
whereas in the past, that's all we had.
Yeah.
And so Simon's been in the archives with these wonderful, handwritten
Yeah.
calligraphy of
Oh, cool.
diaries of people's experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we don't have that. Second World War is probably the latest
Yeah,
time that we've
yeah.
got people's handwritten recollections of things. So that's what we've been gathering. So my job has been to gather all these, and they're all going to go into the National Archive,
Right.
which will be kept at Sandhurst. So
Cool.
it's just like a legacy thing
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, enjoy.
Is that something you think you'll always do, as in write books? Is that something you really
No,
enjoy?
I don't think so.
You don't know?
I think I'll probably, when the time comes.
You don't want to become an accomplished author,
No.
having your own.
No, I
your
don't
own
think so.
library.
I'm not going to be like J.K. Rowling. What I think I'll do is just sail.
Right, yeah, yeah.
I've got
Post-teaching.
Yeah, so when I iron, I watch TV. That's the only time I've got for TV. You have to
Right.
multitask on the TV switch.
Yeah.
So I've just been watching on Amazon Prime about the Clipper race. Have you seen it?
I've not, no.
It's a round the world yacht race.
Okay.
And I nearly burnt my shirt because I was
Right.
like this. I'm mesmerised.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, that is something that
Yeah.
is...
So is that a similar conversation or similar feeling to when you were 45? And
Yes.
So now you've watched that and thought,
I thought
I
that
can do
is
this.
eminently
Yeah.
doable. That is
okay,
doable.
right.
100%.
Okay. But that's quite extreme, isn't that? Well, that's vastly
11
extreme.
months.
You have to change.
Yeah,
Is that what it
11
takes,
months
yeah?
at sea, round the
Wow,
world.
okay.
11 different legs.
And even accomplished yachts person.
I wouldn't say accomplished.
Okay.
I like sailing and I've done a bit.
Yeah.
But there are people on those boats who've never sailed before.
Okay.
Novices.
They're going around
All
the
the
world.
way from skippers to novices.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got a genuine interest in that?
Yeah.
Is that something, as
I
in,
literally thought
yeah?
that is doable.
Right.
A couple of years ago, I applied to be part of the first all-female army rowing team to row
Okay.
across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't succeed because, as life happens, I wouldn't have been able to be on the boat. But
Yeah.
I did apply for it, and I thought I could row across the Atlantic, and I would have been
Right.
rowing on my 50th birthday,
Oh, okay.
which I thought would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of had the same feeling. I'm thinking there was a lady on there with her daughter. Her husband had sadly passed away, and she said, "My daughter and I are going to do this together," and they've done it right the way
Right.
around the world. I haven't quite watched the last episode yet. I almost want to generate more ironing because it's the only time I can justify sitting still. But
That's pretty two things at once thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try and do that as well for exercise. I try and walk the dog into school,
Right.
which is like a 10k walk, or
Yeah.
I'll run in on my own, or I'll cycle in. I try and always
Yeah.
do a couple
Trying to
of
tick several boxes at once. Yeah, throughout life.
efficiency.
And what are the next boxes to tick in terms of education? But would you see?
I'm happy,
you-
and I'm
yeah.
happy in my school.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's a brilliant place to be.
Yeah, I want to, just keep investing there. And
Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
time will come where I think there's nothing more I can do.
Mm.
I've done a lot, and I don't know when that time will be, but I'll know when this is the longest I've been in any school. I'm in
Yeah.
this is my start of my 8th year now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I've got another school in me, but I just don't know what that
Right.
looks like. Or another job,
Right. Okay.
maybe. I don't know.
Skipper.
though.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not experienced enough as a sailor yet, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Vic, final question. You've had such a varied experience of life. If you were to give yourself some advice if you were the 4 or 5 year old Vic was sat in front of you now, in terms of character and strength of character, what you need to achieve the life you have, what would it be?
I'd like it to be something about self-belief, and that person, that little girl. And it's funny, when I had a bit of counselling therapy, the therapist spoke to me and she said, I'm not going to speak to you.
Okay.
I'm going to speak to the child, the 8-year-old child who didn't hear these things that I'm going to say. And I thought that's actually quite powerful, because the front of me is clearly quite accomplished, but that 8-year-old girl was just frightened, very frightened, and I have to work hard on her.
Right.
And I think I would say what I say now every day, which is just be brave.
Right. Amazing. And Vic, for those that want to read your books or know more about the work you're doing, where is that? Let's do a quick plug.
The books are on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
So Leading with Love was the first one I wrote. There's a lot of honesty in that. In fact, there's a lot of honesty in them both.
Yeah.
And all kinds of people have read those books, military people. My good old mate, Rusty, he's a rugby guy. So loads of people have read it. And then the second one is Authentic School Improvement. I wanted to call it. It's not all about Ofsted, but it's called Authentic School Improvement for Authentic Leaders. And then, I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Vic Carr, and I'm on Twitter at HappyHead74.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Vic, it's been a pleasure to have you on. I've learned so much about you that I didn't know, even though we've worked together for 10 years.
I don't know whether that's a good thing.
It's a brilliant thing. It's amazing. And we look forward to continuing the work we're doing with your schools. But thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for being so honest and candid. I've no doubt the viewers and listeners have really, really enjoyed listening. So thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure, thank you.
Cheers, Vic. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast with Dr. Vic Carr. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's show. Vic was a brilliant self. For those that follow her on social media, energetic, passionate. More importantly, she's very, very honest. And to find out about her background and how that's manifested in both positive and negative elements of who she's become was truly inspiring. If today's conversation gave you food for thought, make sure you subscribe, share the episode, and please leave a review. The more you give there, the better and more guests we can have, so we can share more content with you. You can connect with Dr. Carr on LinkedIn and X to continue her journey. Don't forget to watch her TEDx speak. It is genuinely inspiring. Until next time, give it all you've got.